What is going on, guys and gals? Brooklyn bound the raid scientist here, and today we're going to cover everything you can do in the remaining weeks of Season 19 to prepare for the Lightfall DLC that drops on February 28th of 2023. Now I know, this is just another Destiny Lightfall prep YouTube video among the hundreds of other ones saying you have to do this and you need to do that before the end of the season. But today, I want to just be as honest as possible with you and not sugarcoat things or make things out to be bigger than they actually are. Preparing for Lightfall and what things you save or grind ahead of time is really going to depend on what type of player you are, and what you're really expecting to do in those first few weeks of the DLC dropping. I want to be honest, there's nothing in this video or any prep guide that you have to do before Lightfall, so don't stress out about the things you feel like you haven't done or still need to do to get ready. The truth is, if you didn't play Destiny another minute until February 28th, and then you jumped into Lightfall, you're still going to have an excellent time, you're still going to be able to acquire all the new gear and weapons and be able to do all of the activities, pending you actually bought the content. However, with all that said, if you're looking to play catch-up from some of the content you may have missed this year, prepare your inventories of the slug of new content and weapons, or generally just want to be as prepared as possible, then here's the things that you should focus on for the remainder of the season. Note, if you're a seasoned Destiny veteran, likely a lot of this isn't going to be new, as preparing for Lightfall looks very much like preparing for the Witch Queen and Beyond Light did. With that said, there are some new currencies and things that we'll go through. First and foremost, you want to complete any of the seasonal content quests, triumphs, and activities, and most importantly, acquire the weapons and armor sets from those seasons, because they are going to be vaulted and unobtainable after Lightfall. Now I know this sounds like a lot, especially if you took some time off. From Season of the Risen, the Psyops activity, the War Table weapons and armor will all be vaulted, and the Seasonal Seal Risen will be as well. This includes some notable weapons like Explosive Personality, Peace of Mind the Pulse Rifle, and the Thoughtless Sniper Rifle. In addition, the Vox Obscura exotic mission, which yields the Dead Messenger exotic grenade launcher, will also go into the Destiny content vault. From Season of the Haunted, all the Leviathan and Castellum activities will go away, along with all the weapons and armor and triumphs from the seasonal title Haunted. Most notable weapons here are the Callus Mini Tool SMG, the Bump in the Night Stasis Rocket Launcher, the Austringer Hand Cannon, and the beloved Sniper Rifle. From Season of the Plunder, all the Catch Crash activities, quests, expeditions with the treasure maps, and all of the seasonal weapons and armor from the Star Chart are going away. Notable weapons here are the Tarnished Metal Arc Scout Rifle, the Brigand's Law Sidearm, and the Blood Feud Stasis SMG. And finally, the current season of the Seraph Quests and Heist Battlegrounds activity are going to be vaulted, along with all of the weapons and armor, and even the Operation Seraph Shield exotic mission, which yields Revision Zero's exotic pulse rifle. The notable weapons here are going to be the Ekelos SMG, the Retrofit Escapade Void Heavy Machine Gun, and things like the Judgment of Kelgarath Glaive that has some pretty neat perks. Overall, I did make a video on the best weapons from all these seasons to try and farm and even unlock the crafting pattern for before they're vaulted, which I will link in the description. The best thing to do though is just go through all of the weapons from each season and armor sets and pick the ones you're most interested in using in Lightfall, based on the type of player you are. Remember that once you unlock weapon patterns for any craftable weapons, you will have the ability to craft it whenever you want, even after Lightfall. So do your best to try to get those patterns completed by collecting the red border versions. Once again, if there's any titles or triumphs from any of these seasons you've yet to complete, you need to do them before Lightfall. I'd say if you do anything in this guide, finishing acquiring the seasonal weapons and armor along with finishing the triumphs is probably the most important, because this content is actually getting removed from the game, and there is no telling if any of it makes its way back into the world loot pools in the future. Finally, in regards to the seasonal content, make sure you've also claimed all the items off your season pass, both this season, and you can actually go to last season. You can actually go to Bungie.net and then click on Season Progress after you've logged in, and then choose Previous Season, and it will show all of the items from each character that you haven't claimed, and you can claim them right here. I'm typically guilty of forgetting to do this on my non-main characters, so go do this and you may even have some materials or cosmetics waiting for you. The rest of the items I'll cover are nice to haves if you have extra time and desire to prepare yourself even further for the slug of new weapons and patterns and activities coming with the new DLC. First, stock up on materials for crafting and masterworking your armor and weapons. This includes Ascendant alloys, Ascendant shards, enhancement prisms, and things even like raid banners and spoils of conquest if you're a big raider. At the start of the new DLC, there is always usually a higher demand for these items in order to craft the new weapons, upgrade your new armor, and even buy the new raid weapons from the vendor that is typically at the end of the new raid. To get Ascendant alloys used for weapon crafting, visit Master Rahul once a week to buy one for 400 legendary shards, or run weekly Witch Queen story missions or Wellspring activities for chances at getting them dropped. For Ascendant shards and prisms, Master or Grandmaster Nightfalls are probably the best way to farm them. However, you can also get them from ranking up different vendors like Shaq, Savala, or even getting Flawless or 7 wins on a card in Trials of Osiris. You can also purchase them from Rahul for some pretty hefty costs. For raid banners, you can just buy these from Hawthorne, and for Spoils of Conquest, you have to run either the weekly feature raid or King's Fall. They come from repeated runs on the encounters, as well as secret chests in King's Fall as well. A lot of people will just find one encounter they like that they can do quickly in a raid, and save the checkpoint and just run that over and over to farm Spoils of Conquest until they reach the max. Some of the faster encounters are things like Taniks in the Deepstone Crypt, which requires the Deepstone Crypt to be the weekly featured raid. Vault of Glass encounters in general are usually pretty fast encounters, and the Daughters of Oryx in King's Fall. Overall, like I said, you want to just make sure you're maxed out on all of your currencies so you can craft weapons, upgrade your armor, and you're ready to go for the new stuff that comes with Lightfall. Now, next item on the list is probably everyone's least favorite thing to do, and that is clean out your vault. Now, you don't have to get rid of everything, but you want to leave about 100 open spots or so. So you want to get your vault down to about 500 out of 600. You're going to be getting a ton of new weapons and exotics, all with new perks, and you're going to want to hold on to them and tinker with the perks until you know what's good and bad, and having space to put all of these weapons is very important. Go through your weapons that you have multiples of and pick one PvE and maybe one PvP role that you want to hold on to. Exotic weapons that you rarely use, you can delete them, and then just reclaim them from collections if you ever needed them again in the future. Keep in mind that when you do this, they actually won't be at max power, but if it's something you're not using very often, it's worth the extra space. I would hold on to exotic armor, however, because stat rolls on the ones pulled from collections are awful. If you have old weapons or sunset armor, it's probably time you said your goodbyes. Aside from maybe an old Crucible ritual weapon that you might still use in the non-power enabled PvP mode. Next up, in relation to vault cleaning, is to extract any Deepsight resonance elements from any or all red border weapons you have stashed in your vault for any weapons that can't be crafted. Bungie stated in the TWAB on October 28th that, quote, players who currently have these in their inventory should complete their Deepsight objectives and extract their resonant elements before February 28th to avoid the loss of resonant elements, end quote. So with that said, my guess is that any of the weapons you have that can't be crafted, that have a red border on them, will have that red border removed when Lightfall launches. So get your resonant elements to max from these weapons before Lightfall. Note, it's best to make sure you have all of the weapons you want crafted first, and then do this to top off your resonant elements. Okay, moving on to bounty hoarding. Now, this age-old tradition continues for Lightfall as well, in that you can do a bounty completion but not claim the reward, which typically involves experience, and it will remain in your inventory after the DLC drops. Then, once you've unlocked the new seasonal artifact in Lightfall, you can claim all these bounties, and they will give you a ton of extra experience that you grinded before, unlocking the new artifact mod sooner and allowing you to rank up your season pass faster. Now, I'll be honest, I don't spend a ton of time bounty prepping. I usually do a handful on my main character, and if I have some time, maybe some weeklies on another. But doing this practice of hoarding bounties is really not necessary unless you just want stuff on the season pass and artifact levels a week or so sooner, depending on how much time you're actually going to play when Lightfall comes out. Remember that typically the best mods on the artifact are in that last column, and you usually need around season pass rank 35 to 40 to get the first one. So depending on how fast you want to get there will dictate how much bounty prepping you really need to do. Now, some notes on what bounties to hoard and which to avoid. First, any of the seasonal bounties from the War Table, Crown of Sorrow, Star Chart, and Exo Frame will not carry over as content from this is getting vaulted. Make sure you claim these now. Secondly, note that weekly bounties give the most experience boost at 12,000, while daily bounties give 6,000. Do these before even bothering with the repeatable bounties, as they will only give 3,000 XP per. You can hold up to 63 bounties and quests combined per character, so I would delete quests you aren't going to do to maximize the space you have for bounties. Always be sure to leave a few open spots for Lightfall in case you have to pick up a new bounty or quest at the start of the DLC. The weekly bounties on screen here will give you the most experience. Each vendor has a few static ones and a few rotating ones each week. When doing bounties, I typically use DestinyRecipes.com and go to the Show Bounties checklist, and you can log in with your Bungie.net credentials, and it will show you all the available bounties on each character, the XP values, what you've already completed, and so on. It's a pretty nice tool. Finally, the last thing I recommend doing is relatively simple, and it's definitely not required, but it may help ease some of the shock when logging in after Lightfall drops. There are some pretty big changes coming to the game layout, interface, and how things work, and you may want to at least revisit and learn about them ahead of time. First and foremost, in the Lightfall 2022 showcase video linked in the description, Bungie announced Guardian ranks, commendations, and an in-game LFG system. While they didn't break down the exact details of how everything works, the video is worth a rewatch. These systems are designed to reward players for helping others, as well as also give solo players an in-game system to find people to do non-match-made activities. Secondly, on January 18th, Bungie posted a very in-depth breakdown of the armor and weapon building system, how mods are applied and reworked, and it's going to mean major changes in how we prepare for battle. Give this article a read-through. Overall, just keep your eye on Bungie.net, the news feed over the next 5 to 6 weeks of the season, because Bungie no doubt will be posting more and more critical information regarding what's coming in Lightfall, what changes are being made, what weapons are getting buffed, what weapons are getting nerfed, and so on. If you keep up with this news as it goes, it will make the changes seem so much less daunting when they actually go live. And that's all I have for you. Have fun, enjoy the final few weeks of the Season of the Seraph, and get ready for some cool and fun changes coming with Lightfall. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed today's video, please drop a like or a comment, or even hit that subscribe button to join the channel and get connected with all of the other Destiny content. We'll see you next time, Guardian.